Hello, my name is Morgan Pittenger. Welcome to my interview PowerPoint. Once again, I apologize if I'm stopped up. If I sound stopped up, that's because I'm a little bit sick right now. I'm pushing through it. Interview PowerPoint. Hello, my name is Morgan Pittenger. I'm excited to be interviewing for the position interviewing for, which is photojournalist. What made you want to apply for this job? I have always had a passion for art and animation, especially in photography and especially in the news industry. I fell in love with photography when I was taking a few classes in my college years, as I discovered that it is one of my strengths. I am very proud of how all of my finished photos turned out, and I always want to share my photos with others. I am looking forward to gaining further experience in photography. What can you bring to the organization? I hope to bring creativity to the organization, as well as gaining further experience in photography. I also hope to spread some positivity around the workspace when I am working with my fellow employees, as I believe that it would make them feel good about themselves. It's always important to think positive. How did your time at APSU prepare you for this position? My time at APSU prepared me for this position by exposing me to different types of photography. My professor was really nice and he was very helpful to all of his students, including me. Photo 1, my first class, is where I discovered that photography, along with health, is one of my strengths, and in that class, I became comfortable with using a Nikon D56 camera, and I wanted to continue my experience in photography. Photo studio lighting is where I was introduced and taught how to operate the studio lighting equipment in the classroom. And that's where I gained a little bit more photography experience. And I look forward to continue to gain more experience in the field of photography. What is your biggest weakness when it comes to work, and what steps do you take to mitigate that weakness? When it comes to photography, my biggest weakness is struggling to comprehend how my clients want the photos to look, as I already have a vision of how the photo is going to turn out once it is finished. The steps that I take to overcome that weakness are: 1, talk to the client; 2, ask my clients, how do you want the photos to look? 3, listen to what the clients have to say when it comes to answering that question. And 4, try to come up with an agreeable compromise about how the photos will look. And 5, try to match the client's description of the photo. How do you make a client feel comfortable in front of the camera? Well, before starting a photo shoot or during the photo shoot, I would ask my clients questions such as, where are you from? Is this your first time here? Or have you had a picture taken at this company before? This creates a comfortable environment for the client, and it helps them feel more comfortable in front of the camera and helps the client gain the employee's trust. What are the essential characteristics of a successful photographer? Every successful photographer has several characteristics that contribute to their success. All photographers must know how to edit their photos on photo editing software such as Lightroom and Photoshop. And those are the two softwares that I use when I do photography. And they must have experience in handling cameras as well as operating studio lighting equipment. But they must also enjoy working with others and bringing out the best of their clients through the camera. No. What are your biggest strengths? My biggest strength is that I can be creative and imaginative, as I always visualize how my own photos will look, and I always express my creativity towards my fellow employees as well as my clients. For this job, I have to take pictures of my models while keeping them comfortable during a photo shoot. I gathered enough photography experience in both my photography college courses, and I want to gain experience in that field of photography. Why did you decide to apply for this position? I am very passionate about art and animation, especially photography. In fact, I took a couple of photography courses in my college years at Austin Peay State University, where I discovered that photography is one of my strengths, and I want to gain further experience in photography. I have been watching News Channel 5 for many years, and I would like to be a photographer in the news industry. What formal training do you have as a photographer? While I have completed my college bachelor's degree in general studies, I had a studio art minor, which includes photography. I took a couple of photography classes, Photo 1 and Photo Studio lighting classes. My professor was very nice and he was helpful to all of his students, including me, and I saw and trust him as a friend. Those classes are where I discovered that photography is one of my strengths. I took pictures of bridges, action figures, myself, models, and props that were required for the assignments. I look forward to gaining more experience in photography. What are your salary requirements? My salary requirements is in the $50 to $100 an hour range annually. Are you currently considering other positions for other companies? Not yet. I am currently looking for jobs to apply for, and my faculty mentor at APSU suggested applying for the position at your company. I am not looking for just the same position at any company, as I also do some animation as a side hobby. But I'm interested in participating in projects that your company hosts, and I also dabble in writing too. Are you a risk taker? I am not a risk taker. I'm more of a rule follower, as I always try to follow my manager's directions when it is necessary. The most important things are to be professional, always come to work prepared, and be mentally and physically ready for anything, even if things go wrong sometimes. When I worked with my dad at his company, Able Environmental, I was always told to be professional and polite when I met the clients at their homes, and that's exactly what I did. I always made sure I got the lead-based paint readings taken accurately because my dad, he's an environmental inspector and works with lead and radon. And I always asked if they were good readings, and I made sure that I wrote down every single reading on the slips of paper that was given to me. What equipment and tools are vital for you to have no matter where you are photographing? There are many essential things that I must bring with me no matter where I am photographing. I will always make sure that I bring my camera, a tripod, a backdrop, my computer, my camera cord, and my HD drive, because I will need that equipment in order to take photos for my career. And if I fail to bring any part of that equipment, especially my Nikon camera, then there will be no way for me to take the photos and or edit the photos if I forget to bring my computer. And failure to complete the task for the job could result in me getting terminated. What photo editing software do you like to use for your finished photos? When it comes to editing my photos once they are finished, I prefer to use photo editing software such as Lightroom Classic and Photoshop. I always start the editing process on Lightroom Classic, and then I use Photoshop to handle the finishing touches before the printing process begins. What details do you enjoy focusing on in your work? When I am taking photos, I like to focus on the models for them as they are the main centerpiece of my photos. I like to focus on the models because they bring in a lot of attention to detail in the photos, and getting to work with them is always the highlight of the career, and plus they might become friends with me. I also like to focus on the additional props and the lighting, as it provides more details and highlights the models and the props, as they can accentuate the subject's details. And here are a couple of photos that I took for my photo studio lighting class that I'm using as examples. How would you handle a client who is unhappy with their photos and wants a refund? If any of my clients are unhappy with their photos and wants a refund, I would calmly ask them, what is it about the photos that concern you, and what do you not like about them? After they answered the question, I would give them a full refund, along with the option of retaking the photos. I would always want to make sure my clients are always satisfied and happy with how the photo turns out, instead of losing them as a valuable and satisfied customer. What's your expertise as a photographer? My expertise as a photographer is just about anything. I mainly take photos of my family members whenever we have reunions, and I also enjoy taking pictures of my pets, 3 dogs and 2 cats. I enjoy taking photos of anything, especially my family members and pets, because it helps me feel relaxed, as I find photography to be very relaxing, and taking photos of my pets and family seems to bring out the best in everyone, including me. And here are 3 photos that I took from my Foreman Idea project, and it was the very first one. What environment do you enjoy most as a photographer? I enjoy working indoors because it is a much more comfortable and safe environment for me, especially when taking a photo. I am much comfier indoors because taking inside photos helps me feel more relaxed and at ease with myself. I am somewhat more comfortable taking outdoor photos too, as long as there's no large lively crowd outside. However, I can only stay outdoors for a limited time. Then eventually I would want to go back inside to get away from all the stress and anxiety I get whenever a certain area gets too loud and lively. Do you have any interest outside of work? Well, I have a passion for animation, as I have previously taken a couple of animation courses at Austin Peay State University. I also enjoy writing my own fictional stories that feature my own characters along with watching TV and movies, which makes me feel very relaxed and very happy. But photography also makes me feel relaxed and happy, as I do love to handle photography, but I always handle it with care. Do you have any serious medical conditions? While I do not have any serious medical conditions, I do, however, have some mental and physical health disabilities. My physical disability is called ocular motor dysfunction, which means I can't go cross-eyed, I can't track things well with my eyes, and my eye muscles don't work together like they are supposed to. And my mental disabilities are autism, anxiety, depression, OCD, and stress disorder. And I have been bullied because of those disabilities my whole life ever since I got back from being overseas in fourth grade. But nevertheless, I try my best not to let my disabilities stop me from doing what I like to do. What is your biggest weakness? My biggest weakness has always been my stubbornness. Once I visualize how the photos look, I always want them to stay that way and visualize how they would look. But I tend to overcome this weakness by listening to what my client wants and possibly try to come up with a compromise with them, but mostly give them what they want. What are your goals for the future? I'd like to continue pushing my photography experience even further over the years, or pursue my dream of becoming an animator for Disney, while still continuing to expand my photography experience. One reason I'm interested in working for your company is that I'll have the ability to gain more photography experience and learn more about how photography along the way, as well as getting to know my coworkers and becoming friends with them. I believe that expanding my experience will help me become a better photographer. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? As a start, I would like to expand my photography experience and learn about what it means to be a great photographer. During that time period, I would like to accomplish the following: how to take photos using the other settings on my camera, as well as getting acquainted with other camera brands, such as Canon or Sony. Create a portfolio showing all of my best photos. As I continue to gain more photography experience, in 5 years, I would view myself as a great photographer who is friendly and gets along well with the other employees and works hard to get her projects done on time. Are you a team player? Yes, I have been told that I work very well when it comes to teamwork, especially in the job industry. That is one of the things that I love about photography. Everyone has their own creative visualization about how photos should look. And when we work together, we can get the projects done much quicker and faster than we can when we work alone. I am very creative, but I am also willing to listen to what other members of my team have to say. And I am grateful for their help when I need it, but I don't criticize their creativity at all. Why is there a gap in your work experience? The reason why there's a gap in my work experience is because my parents were sick with COVID-19. So I had to take some time off of work so I could take care of them for a full time over a week. And plus, my confidence was shattered after my portfolio review. How do you feel about working weekends or late hours? While I do prefer working the full-time shift at your company, I wouldn't mind working on weekends or late night hours as long as it's not too late, because that would give me extra time to complete the client's projects that I am working on. And it would give me some time to help clean the company of employees who aren't responsible enough to clean up after themselves. How do you respond to stress or change? I am able to stay calm by focusing on how the final project is going to look once it is finished. Then I break the assignment down into smaller steps that I follow one step at a time. I always pay attention to what my client wants for their photos and how they want them to look once they are completed. From there, I mentally create a list of how to get the assignment done, and I follow the steps in my head as I'm completing the project. How do you handle conflicts at work? When I was working as an environmental inspector for Able Environmental, I noticed that my fellow workers were goofing off instead of getting the job done. I calmly tried to get them to act professional by telling them less talking and more working. And when I said that, they said I should try to lighten up, let loose, and have fun. After that, all three of us got back to focusing on the task at hand. How do you define success? I define success as completing the projects the way the clients want them to look, as well as helping out my fellow employees who are struggling to complete their tasks so that the company can be successful. What is your dream job? My dream job would be an animator position for the Walt Disney Company, where the other employees actively participate in dreaming and creativity by using the process of imagination. And communication happens daily, while they study animal behavior for their animal characters such as Tramp, Pongo, Bambi, Lady Marie, etc. I adore seeing the project through to the end and seeing everybody's hard work. As I always say, the hard work is always worth it in the end. And Maya is the software that they use for their projects. Why do you want to work at this company? I want to work for News Channel 5 because I'd always been fascinated with photography in the news industry. And I am looking for ways to expand my experience in photography. I've always enjoyed photography and it has always been one of my strengths, and it helps me to feel relaxed, especially when things get rough. Photography has been one of my favorite hobbies, and I would like to gain further experience in the field of photography. How do you work under pressure? Even though I currently don't have a career, I have discovered ways to work under pressure. I find that having a routine to stick to is the best way to work under pressure. That way you'll feel like everything is getting accomplished. One time I was working on a school assignment, and while I was working on the assignment, I was thinking about all the other assignments that had to be completed by their due dates. But I was thinking about getting them done all at once, and I felt like that would be too much for me to handle, and I got very stressed out about it. I managed to pull myself together by separating those assignments by classes and only completing the assignments for the classes I had the next day. That did help to lessen the stress, as well as the pressure that I was feeling when completing one assignment. What does customer service mean to you? From experience when working with my dad, good customer service involves around being professional around clients, taking full responsibility when something goes wrong, and doing what you can do to make it right. For example, if I wasn't acting professional or goofing off and being rude and immature to the client, or if the lead machine malfunctioned, or if the weather tampered with the radon testing machine, then I would apologize and offer to have their houses retested for lead and or radon again. But this time I would do it the right way. And this is the type of lead machine I use to read through the paint. And this is just a form of the radon test that I would use when I traveled with my dad. How do you ensure that the photos you take are of high quality? A follow a number of steps to make sure that the photos that I take are high quality photos. Before each shoot, I always take the time to make sure I get out the proper equipment such as backdrops, studio lights, a tripod, etc. And I make sure everything is set up correctly. During the shoot, I experiment with different ways to place the props and different poses for the models to make in each photo of the photos. And also getting creative with them as well. And after the photo shoot is completed, I carefully review my photos in the post-production software, such as Lightroom and Photoshop, to edit all the other parts of the photo, such as texture, density, clarity, etc. This helps me to create beautiful photos that are professional and meet the highest standards. What safety protocols do you follow when shooting outdoors? When I'm shooting outdoors, safety is always my number one concern. I always make sure there are no potential hazards when having an outdoor photo shoot by researching the location. I always make sure that my equipment is secure and that I never leave the equipment unattended because someone might steal them. In addition, I always take a first aid kit and call a nearby hospital whenever somebody gets injured before, during, or after the photo shoot. But I also make sure that I review the safety procedures and protocols with the clients and make sure that they are aware of their surroundings too, and make sure the clients are following the precautions. And if they don't, someone could get hurt. Provide an example of a time you had to be creative in order to get the shot you wanted. I recently had to take pictures of Bath & Body Works foam soap because I felt like they were lacking in their magazine ads, and the fragrances of the foam soap always smell so good. The challenge was how to set up the photos and make it look like it was wintertime. And the products needed the winter background I needed. In order to overcome this challenge, I replaced the gray backdrop with a white backdrop, placed a whiteboard on the table, and placed flowers in the background. This gave a more of a wintry feeling, therefore the photos felt like a winter wonderland. What would you do if a client asked you to do something that was against our company's policy? If one of my clients asked me to do something that was against the company's policy, first I would inform them that the company has a policy to follow. Then I would calmly explain the policy and why it is there in place. I believe in being patient and understanding towards clients so that they will understand why your company's policy cannot be broken. But if the client still insists on doing something that is against it, then I'll politely decline and suggest an alternative solution, or agreeing on a compromise that does not break the company policy. That way, both the clients and company's needs are met and everybody is satisfied. How do you stay up to date on the latest photography trends? Staying up to date on the latest photography trends is very important to me, and I take it very seriously. To stay informed, I take a look at pictures people post on social media apps such as Facebook, Instagram, etc. But I also look at magazines and view the photos that were taken by a professional photographer, and I take a close look at them. This helps me learn about more techniques and discover new ways to take photos, as well as feeling inspired by other photographers' work. This allows me to experiment with other trends and keeping up with the latest and maybe even starting a brand new trend. What makes a great portrait photo? What makes a portrait photo great is the photos must have a model present for a photo shoot. The photos must be well lit, sharp, and well exposed. Photographers must use a flattering focal length, and the photographer must be able to focus on the model or the model's eyes, as well as capturing the emotion the models are expressing in the photos. After the photos are taken, they must be well edited and ready to print. Once the printing process is completed, the photos can be placed in a frame and hung up anywhere in the house or the studios. What makes them great? Well, that depends on the photographer's process. If something is off, then the photos will not look good. And it's up to the photographer to correct the error. What's the longest lens you use? The longest camera lens that I prefer to use is an 18 by 55 millimeter camera lens on my Nikon D56 camera. That is the longest lens I use because that's the longest lens I was in focal length that I was exposed to when taking my first photography class at APSU. I currently do not have a lens that is longer than 55 millimeters because I tend to worry that it'll mess with the camera's autofocus, thus preventing me from using a longer lens. But I'm willing to learn how to use a longer lens that was made for the camera and maybe learn how to operate the autofocus if it gets messed up. How do you handle difficult clients who don't know what they want from a photo shoot? When I encounter clients who are unsure of what they want for their photo shoots, I would find the time to make them feel comfortable and get to know them by politely asking them a little bit about themselves, while also understanding their wants and needs. After that, I can help brainstorm some ideas of what they want for their photo shoot and make sure that I explain the photo shoot's process in a way that the client understands, while also showing examples of my work and discussing options of availability to them. Once they are sure of what they want for their photo shoot, I'll make sure the client is comfortable during the photo shoot and throughout the entire process. My goal is to make sure that every client is satisfied and they leave the company happy. Have you ever worked with models before? If so, how did you direct them to get the desired results? I have worked with models during my college years at APSU, and I found that the best way to get the desired results is to find people you know and ask them if they want to participate in the project. But collaboration and communication are the best ways to get the project done. I would make sure the client is comfortable in front of the camera by asking them questions such as, where are you from and have you been here before? And collaborating with other artists such as graphic designers or illustrators. If the photos require drawings or graphic design, they're always good ways to get to know other artists and maybe even form a friendship with them. And here are two photos that are of two of my friends from college. And here are two more photos of models that I took at the class. Do you have any questions for us? Yes, I do have a few questions for you to answer. What do you love most about working for this company? Do the employees get along with each other? What would success look like in this role? What are some of the common challenges your employees face in this company? How long has this company been up and running? And what is the yearly payment for employees at your company like? That's all. Once again, I apologize for sounding stopped up. I am currently dealing with being sick and everything, and it's no fun. Bye. Hope you enjoyed the interview.